Want to keep up with the latest LEGO Mega 96.1 videos? Make sure to subscribe and ring that bell. Hello everyone, LEGO Mega 96.1 here with another video. And welcome back to another On This Day in History. It was on this day in history on August 12th of 1969, the doors to the Haunted Mansion creak open in Anaheim, California in New Orleans Square. Before I go on, I have something to say here. And don't worry, I'm not leaving or anything, it's about a video I made a couple of days ago. Something related to Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, in the video, I called one of the creators of Fazbear Entertainment William Emily instead of Henry Emily. One YouTuber shown here commented on the video and corrected my mistake. So I just want to say thank you so much, buddy. That means a lot. And for those who out there of the Five Nights at Freddy franchise who are into this, I apologize if I got the name wrong, and I assure you, it will never happen again. Alright? So there's that. Now, on to the mansion. Oh, I forgot to mention, this video may contain spoilers for anyone who haven't seen the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion or the 2023 film Haunted Mansion, or the new version of Phantom Manor. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you click away right now so that way you won't be spoiled. But with that in mind, let's continue with the video. Now, if you know me and you know my channel, I love Disney, and the Haunted Mansion in particular is one of my all-time favorite attractions. I mean, who doesn't love the mansion? It is pretty freaking spectacular. Everything from wall-to-wall cobwebs, dust, mold, and 999 happy haunts waiting for their 1000th spook. The Haunted Mansion in particular has become a staple to Disney and has become an all-time favorite attraction. Now, in the beginning, I used to be scared of the mansion because I thought there were actual ghosts inside the mansion. Now, the reason why is because, for me, I'm into the paranormal, mainly ghosts in particular. To be honest, I don't know what's out there, but if you believe in that sort of thing, then that's you. For me, I watch a lot of ghost stuff, mainly History Channel's Haunted History when he did stuff on Savannah, Washington, Gettysburg, and many other places. And I watched every bit of it. And I also watch Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi and Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel. Which, by the way, Ghost Adventures is one of my favorite TV shows out there. So, Zach Bagans, Aaron Goodwin, and Jay. You guys rock, guys. Love your show, man. Now, for me in particular, the mansion is my favorite. Now, the reason why I was scared of it, as I said earlier, I thought there were actual ghosts inside the ride. But after doing some research, I turned out that these ghosts were just animatronics and illusions. So, all this happened in 2007. And I was down there with my mother, my father, my older brother, my younger brother, and my aunt. And this happened while I was in Walt Disney World on a Disney vacation. Now, as we were coming up to the mansion in Liberty Square, I began to panic and I just ran somewhere away because I didn't want to ride it. So I sat out in the mansion with my father while my aunt, my mother, and my two brothers went inside to ride the ride. And as punishment, I rode the now defunct Splash Mountain. Yeah, that was my punishment for not riding the mansion. So a couple years later, I did some research. I sat down and watched a couple videos on the mansion, including Phantom Manor. And it was there that I decided to like the mansion. And I decided in 2007 I conquered my fear of the mansion. And it was there that I fell in love with it. And I wrote it again in 13 and again in 16. And I'm hoping to go down next year. Fingers crossed. Now, with that said, now there's also related to my family on my mother's side. Now, my mother went down to Florida a couple years after the Magic Kingdom opened in the 70s. And my uncle, they went on the mansion, and the one scene that my uncle was terrified the most was the stretching hallway. The stretching portrait, my mistake. The room where the elevator and the stretching portraits? That's it. Now, it was there that the lights went out. There was like a scream, and all of a sudden, my uncle just screamed. That's the story. I mean, yeah, the mansion is scary, but it's also funny too. And I'll talk about that later on in the video. Now, before I can go on about the date, many of you thought it was August 9th, but you're half right. Why? Because I did some research on the mansion, and under debut, August 9th is one of the soft opening days, but the official opening date was August 12th. So you guys were half right on this matter. Now, how do I know this? Well, under debut, when employees previewed the mansion were held on August the 6th and the 7th and the 8th, followed by the soft opening on the 9th and the 10th, where a limited number of park guests were allowed to ride. And a midnight press event was held on the evening on August 11th, but the mansion opened to all guests on August 12th of 1969. So mainly, the mansion's official opening date was August 12th, not August 9th. So in my 50th anniversary video of the Haunted Mansion, I was half right, but I should have done it on the 12th, which was the official opening date of the mansion. So there's that. Now, enough flapping my gums on the mansion's debut, let's go over the history of what led up to the mansion's development. And I do mean history because the history of the mansion dates back to the development of Disneyland, originally called Mickey Mouse Park, which was going to be adjacent across from the Walt Disney Studio. Now, the original idea was as Disneyland continued to expand and grow more and more bigger, as it were, the original idea was to place the mansion of a crooked path of the famed Main Street USA at Disneyland. But it was later shelved because on July 17th of 1955, Disneyland opened its doors, and the mansion was again placed on the back burner at that time. But work on the mansion continued, even into the 60s. Now, this concept art you've seen here, this was done by Ken Anderson, but this one shown here was done by Sam McKim. The reason why, because I did some research, and his work was plussed by Sam McKim himself. Now, what I said earlier, or plussed, is because it's a thing that Disney does when they're working on a game or a movie or a theme park attraction. Sequences or gags were either added or plussed, or added or taken away, as it were. This was a process that Walt called plussing, and plussing is still in use even today. For example, you know the soup eating sequence in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs? Well, in a documentary I learned, Ward Kimball, one of the guys who worked on Snow White, went over the soup eating sequence for the dwarfs. Now, it was there when the dwarves were having dinner, or when they were having soup, they would have ways of slurping their soup. Now, they did enjoy the sequence, but I learned it didn't add to the story. But it was even debuted on Walt Disney's anthology series called, well, The Wonderful World of Disney, or The Wonderful World of Color. It was part of an episode called The Plausible Impossible, which you can find on Disney Plus. I sat down and watched it, and it's really good. A lot of things you didn't know. Now, as I said, work continued on the mansion even into the 60s. Now, the facade of the mansion was complete in 1963, but the attraction won't open until 1969. Now, you're probably wondering what happened during that time anyway. Well, during that time, Walt and his company took part in the 1964 and 65 New York World's Fair, which Walt debuted with a number of attractions and ideas that was not only going to come back to Disneyland, but it will later come to, well, the new park, Walt Disney World, later down the line. The attractions that Walt introduced was Ford's Magic Skyway, It's a Small World, Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, and the Carousel of Progress. And some of those things actually came back to Disneyland, and it's been there ever since. Well, say one, because Carousel of Progress closed, and it was replaced by America's Sings. But you can find the Carousel of Progress in Tomorrowland in Walt Disney World. So there's that. And originally, the Haunted Mansion was going to be a walkthrough style of attraction, but it was changed to the Omnimover system because of many things. One of them was the New York World's Fair, which I said earlier, and Journey Through Inner Space, when they introduced the Omnimover system. Now, this right here, this is the Doom Buggy. This is one of the Omnimovers you see inside the mansion. And not just has two of the mansions here in the US, but also in Tokyo, in Paris. And that's just those two places alone. In fact, in this fair alone, it not only has shown the Walt Disney Company new ideas, but it also advanced in audio animatronic technology. Now, the first show that showed audio animatronics was the Enchanted Tiki Room. But Walt wanted to create animatronic humans of Lincoln and many others. So Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln was introduced, but it also advanced more into audio animatronics. And for those who don't know, Lincoln is one of Walt's favorite presidents. It's also one of my favorite presidents too. That along with Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, not Franklin. They're good guys. Now, Walt took part in that attraction, his development. In fact, some of the stuff was even debuted in his anthology series. He's in an episode of Disneyland's 10th anniversary, which you can find on YouTube. It not only previewed some of the stuff from the mansion, but it also debuted a concept that was going to be in the mansion called the Museum of the Weird. It was going to be some of the weirdest things that were found all over the world. Mainly a candlestick man, a coffin clock, a chair with a face, many other things. Now, even though Walt had a helping hand on the project, but sadly he wasn't there to see its being come to fruition. Now, you see, on December 15th of 1966, just 10 days past his 65th birthday, Walt Disney died of lung cancer. Now, mind you, Walt started smoking sometime after World War I ended. Word of advice, kids, don't smoke. Smoking is bad for your health. In fact, don't do drugs, don't smoke weed, don't smoke marijuana, don't drink and drive, don't smoke, don't do any of that. Stay healthy. Now, the Haunted Mansion and many other attractions would open without Walt. And many of the Imagineers worked on that attraction as well. Imagineers like Ken Anderson, Harper Goff, My mistake. I think Thurl Ravenscroft, who did the singing voice of one of the bus, Exit Tenzio, Mark Davis, Claude Coates, and the late great Rolly Crumb, which offhand Disneyland knows personally. Now, these were big names who know Imagineering and ride park development and all that. Oh, and Leota Toombs is part of that as well for the costuming. Now, there were so many illusions to the attraction, and there's one too many to count. But I know a couple, like, for example, you know that ballroom scene in the Haunted Mansion's ballroom? Well, that was done with an illusion called Pepper's Ghost. Now, that illusion dates back to 1862 by an English professor by the name of Pepper, John Henry Pepper. Now, in order to get the illusion to work, is that you need like a darkened room. And you take an object, it could be any kind of object. It could be like a prop of a mannequin, but with a sheet over the mannequin. And you take a piece of glass and you angle that glass as across the room or away from the object. And if you shine that light on the object, it would appear to you as a ghost. Thus, Pepper's ghosts exist. Very clever. So the mansion did open on August 12th of 1969, and it became an instant hit. People all over for America and even the world loved the mansion. And it was around that same time an album called A Story and Song from the Haunted Mansion was made and it was released. And how I know this? Because I listened to that album myself, of which you can find on YouTube, and it is phenomenal. It's really good. So there's that. And how it, oh, and a little fact, Ron Howard's in on it. Yeah, he played as one of the characters named Mike. He played that character with a woman and who played a female character named Karen. My apologies in advance if I don't know the name of the actors or actresses who played who's who in the albums related to the mansion. My apologies in advance. And due to the success of the mansion, many merchandise were released. He's following the mansion's success, like clothing, women's merchandising, books, games, toys, everything. Everything related to the mansion became an instant hit, and people began to get intrigued of the mansion. However, due to the mansion's success and due to Walt Disney World being constructed, which will later open in October of 1971, duplicates of every animatronics were being made and were being installed in the attraction. So in that case, when the park opened, the rides would be ready. An interesting fact, extra dialogue was recorded too. And the narrator of the Haunted Mansion, Paul Frees, recorded an extra dialogue for the mansion, which would include extra rooms. Now, some of the stuff for the mansion wasn't there in Anaheim, but some of the stuff was found in Orlando. So there's that. It was there on October 1st of 1971, and the Haunted Mansion opened up in Liberty Square, along with the rest of Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. Now, I myself have been there before, not back in 1971, but back when I was a kid, back in 1997. And like its Anaheim counterpart, or sister location, it became an instant hit. And also in the 80s, Tokyo Disneyland got its own on mirroring its American counterpart, at least in Florida. And also in 1992, in April, Disneyland Paris got its own, but with a different name, Phantom Manor. And it opened along with the rest of Euro Disneyland, now called Disneyland Paris. And over in China, which has two theme parks, Shanghai and Hong Kong, there was one opened and related to the mansion called Mystic Manor. And not only did it tie into the Haunted Mansion, but it also would pay homage to the Enchanted Tiki Room. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? But still, the Haunted Mansion is a really cool attraction, and I highly recommend you check it out and ride the ride and even see a few movies, because it is that good. Oh, and speaking of movies, I did talk about the 2023 Haunted Mansion, which was released 20 years after the Eddie Murphy Haunted Mansion. And it's one of the hats I'm wearing here, which I got for Christmas. And I gotta say, I love the 2023 Haunted Mansion. I mean, it is really that good. There's like a lot of Easter eggs, and meaning a lot of references related to the ride. It not only related to the Anaheim, but it also related to the Orlando and Tokyo Mansion. And also linked to a few Disney Imagineers as well. So there's that. And yes, I did see the Eddie Murphy Mansion growing up, and to me, it's okay. It's not a great Disney movie, but it could use some fixing to it. I mean, yeah, there were like a lot of Easter eggs and references to the ride, but if you're gonna do a Haunted Mansion movie or a Phantom Manor movie, maybe. If you're gonna do that, you gotta pick the right actors and actresses to do it. You gotta pick the right composer, and not only do you need to reference the ride to expand more on the story, but maybe jot down a few ideas. Maybe watch a couple of videos on YouTube, or even ride the ride yourself, so that way you can get ideas on how you make a really good Haunted Mansion movie. Sorry. Now, for me in particular, I did sit down and watch the Mansion movie from beginning to end, and I'm talking about the 2023 Mansion, and it's good. It's actually really good. I could tell a lot of work and a lot of dedication was put into this attraction. Like, there was one scene related to the Endless Hallway, one with the Hatchet Man, one was Constance, and even one scene related to a Doom Buggy. Now, that itself is pretty spectacular. And Rosario Dawson's in on it. Yeah, Ahsoka Tano, from The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and from the Ahsoka series. Actually, think about it this way. Ahsoka starring in a Disney attraction. That's pretty cool. But overall, well, there were a lot of references to not only the mansion, but it was also real life references to the mansion itself. For example, the one in Anaheim, and it was based on the Shipley Lydecker Mansion, the exterior of the mansion, that is, was inspired by the Shipley Lydecker Mansion in Baltimore, Maryland. But was it there? But is the mansion still there? Sadly, no. Was it his place? Apartments. I mean, it's a shame, too. I mean, they could have preserved it and moved it somewhere else, but no, they had to tear it down. I mean, preserving history is important, and those who don't know history are forever doomed to repeat it. So there's that. Now, in case you're wondering, for me, no, I haven't been into the Anaheim Mansion. I mean, I want to someday. I just gotta save up a lot of this. Now, I've only been to the one mansion in Orlando. And for those who don't know the exterior of it, it is based off the Harry Packer Mansion. It is based off the Harry Packer Mansion in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, to which I've been myself multiple times. Well, I've been to Jim Thorpe, not the mansion. The only time I've been up there is when I rode the train. Now, I did see the mansion when I was walking around town, and I'm like, hey, that was like a reference to the Haunted Mansion. And when I went home and did some research on it, and turns out I was right. Well, apparently Disney Imagineers came up to Pennsylvania and traveled to Jim Thorpe to look for inspiration for the Orlando mansion. And that mansion in particular, that was the inspiration for the exterior mansion in Florida and in Tokyo. And also for Phantom Manor, the exterior was based off the Fort Ward School in Virginia City, Nevada. Yes, that Virginia City, well known for the Ghost Adventures crew. In which, as I said earlier, Ghost Adventures is one of my favorite shows. And I still watch it. It is my bread and butter, to tell you the truth. And speaking of which, there's also a holiday overlay that runs through late August and late September, early through January, early January. And that was the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay. Now, the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay, it all has to do with The Nightmare Before Christmas, which was released in 1993, which was directed by Tim Burton. Now, in that holiday overlay, Jack Skellington and his friends came from Halloween Town and they took over the mansion. It not only paid homage to the movie, but it also tied into a lot of Imagineers who worked on that attraction. Now, I myself seen a lot of videos of the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay, and it was good. Yeah, that Anaheim got its own, and even Tokyo. And not Orlando? I mean, seriously, when is the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay going to happen in the Orlando version of the Haunted Mansion? I mean, you got the money and technology to do it. Couldn't you just make duplicates of it and then bring it over to Orlando? Think about it. And speaking of technology, in 2007, the Haunted Mansion received a major update, a major refurbishment, as it were. Or you see, in 2007, a lot of stuff was changed. Like, there was creaky sounds for the portrait hallway, a portrait gallery. There was like ghost whispers in the portrait gallery as you leave to board your Doom buggy. And there was new projections. There was a new scene added, where it replaced the spiderweb scene. And also there was introduced a new character called Constance Hatchaway, the Black Widow Bride. It was there that Constance had 5 husbands, into which she lopped off their heads. She not only married these guys and killed them, but she also took their money. Yeah, apparently she's a greedy witch, as it were. Word of advice, kids, don't do what Constance did. If you don't, you'll end up in jail for murder. And also, in that scene, Leota, also related to the '07 update, Leota floats. I guess Disney Imagineers learned a thing or two from Pennywise. We all float down here. You'll float too. You'll float too. Sorry if I did that. And also, Tokyo didn't receive the 2007 update. It didn't. And to this day, it remained the only Haunted Mansion location that hasn't received the '07 update. And speaking of updates, Phantom Manor got its own update as well. Originally, Phantom Manor was exactly the same, but Project Sparkle, at least I think it was called, it went over all the refurbishments of every Disney attraction, and Phantom Manor was on that list. Now, it was there that there were a lot of changes made to that attraction as well. Now, in the original, Melanie Ravenswood, that's the bride of the Phantom Manor ride, not only had one suitor, but she had 4. 4 of them met a grisly end, and if you've seen the update for Phantom Manor, in which I did the entire video of Phantom Manor myself, which I'll put in the description below so that way you can watch and see for yourself. And after years of speculation, it was confirmed that the Phantom, one of the antagonists, is in the Phantom Manor ride, is Henry Ravenswood. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Now, originally, there were speculations on who the Phantom was when the original was roaming around. Many claimed it was Melanie's fiance, many claimed it was a demon, or many claimed it was Henry Ravenswood himself. So there's that. Now, I myself have never been to Disneyland Paris, and I never rode Phantom Manor. I mean, I did see videos of it, and it looked phenomenal. And yeah, I did made a couple of videos of Phantom Manor, one of which Markiplier or in Heavy rode Phantom Manor. Now remember, I did those videos for fun, for entertainment. No money involved or anything. So, yeah. Now with that said, I love the Haunted Mansion, and it's a really cool ride, and I highly recommend you watch it and check it out, because it is really that good. And hats off to the Haunted Mansion. May you continue to grow and prosper for many years to come, and may you gain more fans in the near future. Jindan. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. That concludes today's video. And if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more like this, including the many other videos that I've done on my channel, please feel free to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to my channel, and turn on the bell notifications so that way you can be notified when I upload the next video. And as always, this is LEGO Mega 96 1, signing off.